Imagine Guam led by proven and effective leaders. Leaders with a record of service and success in lifting our island and her people from challenges and hardships that continue to plague our families and neighborhoods. The leaders we choose this election will make the difference between harder times or a safe, prosperous, and peaceful Guam. Frank Blas Jr. has led Guam out of difficult times throughout his career as a police officer to his role as Guam's Homeland Security Advisor and as your Senator and Speaker. And now, as our Governor, he will once again lead the charge to clean up our streets, protect our families and businesses, put drug dealers away for a long time, and let the region know that Guam is open for business once again. No other candidate can protect our people like Frank Blas Jr. Vote Frank Blas Jr. for Governor and Dr. Mary Okada for Lieutenant Governor. Tested, trusted leaders.
Good Morning Show with Troy Torres is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good morning and a belated Father's Day to you all. I'm sorry I wasn't, I didn't do the two shows I was supposed to do yesterday. I kind of got thrown off of my routine because of certain issues. But anyway, I used yesterday to sort of reset and to prepare for getting back into the routine today. And I didn't do anything yesterday. My dad died back in 2019, right before the pandemic. And really my family stopped doing family things when my grandma died. Like we used to do, and we're not like a big family and we're not big on getting together or anything like that. We never were. But back when my grandparents were alive, we did Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, especially Mother's Day. Well, especially Christmas, because Christmas was my grandma's favorite. But especially Mother's Day because our lives revolved around my grandma. Father's Day was kind of like, yeah, it was a thing, but the men did all the work for Father's Day. This is funny. The 4th of July, because that's my birthday, and my family made a big deal out of me, which kind of explains why I'm so arrogant and vain and spoiled. And let me see, anything else? No, I don't. We didn't get together. No, that's not true. When my grandparents were alive and they were healthy, we got together every Sunday. And then, so when my grandparents died, we just didn't really do the thing. I mean, Christmas might happen in my family, but certainly not Father's Day. Anyway, this morning I was wondering, I was like, is there a holiday or something? Because I was on the road heading back from the gym at 7:30. And I was going through Dedido, and there was no traffic going from Jigo and Dedido into our downtown. And so I called up my best friends, and I was like, "Is there a holiday today that I don't know about?" Because we don't really take holidays at Kandit, right? Unless it's Holy Week. And they're like, "No, it's just that there's no kids at school." I was like, "These darn kids causing all these problems, including traffic, huh?" Good morning. My name is Troy Torres, and it's 8:07 a.m. on Monday, June 22nd, 2026. And I was having a conversation with Landon Idlet by WhatsApp yesterday or last night. Those poor Idlet brothers, they never get breaks, first of all. And especially in a super El Nino season like this, apparently it's one of those times where it's going to be difficult for them to get any type of break. And also they have to skate around the best ways to communicate with people so that we don't get fatigue from all this information about all these different weather systems that are developing and will for this year develop east of us. because you don't want people to get into a situation where like, oh gosh, another storm that's not going to hit us, and then people are just boom, all of a sudden not prepared for a big one, right? So not to say that there's a big one coming or anything like that, but over the past week, we have been following, over the past couple of weeks, we've been following this stream of weather systems that have been developing over in the Marshall Islands. The last one that we were looking at, and it consumed our show last week, was Invest 92W, which thankfully just brushed us to the south as a tropical depression, caused some heavier showers and winds in the southern part of the island. Like Jigo was relatively sunny and hot and humid, so all this weather has been not good for me. Like I want the rain. I like the rain. And so behind it trailed 93W, which does not seem to be an issue anymore, but now there's a 94W. And so I was messaging with Landon Idlet last night, and he was like, yeah, I cut short my vacation, which was supposed to have ended next weekend, and he's coming back to Guam on Wednesday. He's not certain anything is going to be in any way tragic, right? But as a just in case he did that, right? Poor guy. So he gave me the number to the office, and he said that there should be someone on duty who we can talk to live on the show about Invest 94W and whether it is any kind of threat for Guam, Rota, Tinian, or Saipan later this week. And so we'll have that conversation. Well, at least we'll try to have that conversation with the on-duty person over the National Weather Service Guam office in just a few minutes. And then after that, what I want to talk about is something that was in the news over the weekend. There is an AG candidate. His name is Jordan Pauloon. And well, let's set the stage here, right? There are 2 and possibly 3 AG candidates, and I say possibly 3 because one of them hasn't filed yet. 2 possible 3 AG candidates who are the anti-Doug Moylan candidates, and I say that because that's precisely how they've been campaigning. They're the anti-Doug Moylan candidates. Then there is, and those include Peter Santos, Jordan Pauloon, and Tom Fisher. And then there is Phil Tydinko, who, I don't know if you remember this, but the very first time we elected an attorney general, the race was between Douglas Moylan and Phil Tydinko. Phil Tydinko is the brother of Chief Judge Francis Tydinko Gatewood of the District Court of Guam. And I have not heard anything from his campaign, so I don't know if he's the anti-Doug Moylan or the anti-incumbent candidate, but he's definitely vying for the job, and according to the Guam Bar, like, he's the most popular among the lawyers, okay? And then you have Attorney General Doug Moylan. So you have one of the anti-Doug Moylan candidates, Jordan Pauloon, filing a complaint against the Attorney General in the Guam Election Commission, saying that he should be disqualified because of partisan politics. And the Attorney General has responded to that. And so, we'll get into, what each side is saying, but that's not where I wanted to have the conversation. Where I wanted to have the conversation is the math on this and why Jordan Pauloon and those on the anti-Doug Moylan side of things are trying to get the Attorney General disqualified. And I'll give you I'm so bad with those axioms or those terms, those sayings that I'm trying to find that saying. It's not coming. Anyway, I'll just reveal what it is that, or my hypothesis on this. And it is that they are afraid that because of how many people are in the race, that this race highly favors the Attorney General to win re-election. We'll talk about that math. And whether you agree with the Attorney General or not, I mean, I'm just putting an objective hat on and doing the math in my head. And math is far more reliable than emotion, right? And the math in my head says that these guys want him to be disqualified because it really looks like, because of how the things are split, he'll win re-election because of how many candidates there are. So anyway, we'll talk about these 2 issues on the other side of the commercial break. Where is my first commercial? Is it? Oh, no, not Wendy's. This is the circus. On the other side of the commercial break. Stick with us. Welcome back to the show. Let's now try to get someone over at the National Weather Service on the line to talk to us. So this is it's called a cold call, right?
Good morning, National Weather Service Guam.
Hi, good morning. My name is Troy Torres with Kandit News, and I'm actually calling your office while live on my show. So you're on my show. I was wondering if I could talk to the on-duty person. I was referred by Landon Idlet.
Yeah, I'm on duty. I could talk.
Oh, thank you so much. Your name, sir?
Patrick Dowell, D-O-L-L.
Hi, Patrick. You mind if I call you Patrick?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. So, Patrick, I was wondering if you could tell our audience what might be going on with Invest 94W and whether there are any preparations we need to make over in Guam, Rota, Tinian, or Saipan later this week.
Well, the main preparation would be to continue to monitor the forecast. Right now, it's pretty stationary. It's roughly... Let's see, it's using my cursor here. It's the one right near 150, so 60 miles per degree, and it's 5.5 degrees. It's about 330 miles east of Guam, stationary. It is going through periods of what we'd call cichlid thunderstorm development, so it's kind of one of the things we watch for is how persistent is the shower and thunderstorm development, how heavy, and just that and watching the low-level cloud features gives us an idea on if it's trying to organize. And it certainly looks like it's trying, but there's some wind shear aloft that's kind of fighting it a little bit. So I do, looking at the forecast, the various models, it is forecast to gradually organize as it comes through. Now, it's with any system when it's forming, the models really have a tough time on figuring out which way it's going to go and at what strength, because it's still in the developmental process, and that holds true here. The things for sure that it will bring is increasing rain chances once it does edge this way. And it's temporarily stationary right now, but since yesterday, it's moved off to the almost due west at about 4 or 5 miles an hour when it has been moving. So it's definitely slow moving. But it will bring periods of showers and thunderstorms. Some of them could be locally heavy as it comes through. There is the potential that it could develop into a tropical depression or tropical storm But will that occur before the Marianas as it's passing through or after? That's the $64,000 question. That's really going to be dependent on what this does over the next 24 to 36 hours.
Okay.
It literally just formed about this time yesterday, so it's the remnants of what used to be Invest 93 a few days ago when it was down there north of Coast Ryan and Ponape. And then the day after that, the circulation washed out. There was nothing evident on visible imagery or the various analyses that we do. But then it kind of recongealed yesterday, and almost immediately started to try to develop thunderstorms near the low-level center. So that's the first sign. Then does it persist, and does the flow into its strengthen is the next question. I am seeing that it is rapid flow into it, that westerly flow is strengthening, but that does not mean that it's imminently going to, get its act together and come through here as a storm. So, just to reiterate, folks should just continue to follow the forecast on our webpage. It is bringing locally heavy showers, and like any tropical heavy shower we'll get some gusty winds with it, maybe 30, 35 miles an hour, but it could be more than that depending on what it does.
So, Patrick, is this, you said for folks to monitor, when you say folks, do you mean folks in Guam, Rota, Tinian, or Saipan, or do you mean all of us?
I mean all of them. Some of the models take it near Guam, some of it take it over Saipan or just north, and some of them are struggling to even show that it's there right now, even though it is. So, that's just one of the artifacts of each model has its own resolution. It's kind of like, you go into the store and buying a TV, and certainly there's all different sizes and resolutions, and some of them are better at some things than others, like smart TVs.
Yeah.
Well, the models are kind of the same way. Some models are not as high def as others, but they go out longer in range. And so you, as a forecaster, it's kind of our job to know. When I give school talks, I say, the models are kind of like kids. Each kid's going to have its own personality, and you have to know the strengths and weaknesses of each one, and then go with climatology of the area and your experience level as a forecaster, and actually what you think, your gut feeling, and you kind of mix all that together. It's almost like cooking or baking, and that's how we come up with the forecast. And I've been in 17 years. I've been in pretty much every region the Weather Service has, so I have a lot of tools in my tool bag, if you will, and from what I'm seeing experience-wise, it's going to affect us for sure.
Okay.
It's just, will it just be heavy showers? Because that's still in effect. Or could we get a storm level? Yeah, the conditions are favorable, and as it moves closer to us, the wind shear that's holding it at bay or fighting it, if you will, right now, that's forecast to weaken. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to turn into Sinlaku. It could be, just a weak disturbance that kicks up the winds a little, but not enough to really affect the power or anything like that. Or it could be something more. It's next 24 to 36 hours, we'll have a better idea.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate your time and your expertise on this and sharing this with us.
Yeah, it's no problem. I mean, I wish I could give you a yay or nay, but I just want to be, blatantly honest and transparent on what's going on and kind of we're watching it. I've got one monitor zoomed in on it, and so every little hiccup it makes, I know. But yeah, it just folks should continue to monitor.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate it. We'll give the office a call tomorrow morning to get an update.
Sounds good. You have a great day.
You too. God bless you. Bye.
Yep. You too. Bye-bye.
Patrick Dahl with the National Weather Service Guam office, the on-duty weather person, giving us an update on Invest 94W. And so you heard what he said. The preparation that we need to make for 94W as of right now, as of today, is just continue to monitor. And he applies that to all of us in Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan, because something's going to come through, he says. It can come through anywhere from Guam to north of Saipan, and we're just not sure what type of thing it will be or when it might come here. And there are different models that show different things. We'll get that update from whoever is on duty tomorrow morning. Stick with us. On the other side of the commercial break. Do we have commercials? Yes, on the other side, on the other side of the commercial break, I want to talk about the Attorney General race and the math involved in the context of a complaint that one Attorney General candidate has made against the incumbent Attorney General in trying to get the incumbent Attorney General disqualified. Stick with us.
We delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off, or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
This stuff's hitting the spot. Man, the election's getting exciting in our island. And you know what? Gubernatorial election years are always pretty exciting because of all it's not just the debates and all the different events that happen. It's also the interesting dynamics between the supporters that above the belt and then all the below the belt stuff, which is always so ugly. We could really do without that stuff. But the Attorney General's race is shaping up to be similar in terms of excitement, and there is and from actually even before the gubernatorial race, the Attorney General race was already kind of exciting because there's three candidates who are like the anti Doug Moylan candidates, and you can tell but just by the speeches that they have, what they put into the comments, and now a complaint that has been registered against Doug Moylan. Doug Moylan is the incumbent Attorney General. He is vying for re-election. And then there is this other candidate who is trying to unseat Doug Moylan, but he hasn't come out as I'm not entirely sure what his campaign is. He's the most silent of the AG candidates, and that is Phil Tidinko. So I'm not sure whether you can put him into the anti-Doug category insofar as these three, Peter Santos, Jordan Pauloon, and Tom Fisher, have been just vociferously the anti. And I say that for Jacob Nakamura. vociferously the anti-Doug Moylan candidates. One of them, Jordan Pauloon, last week he made a complaint against the Attorney General to the Guam Election Commission, formal complaint and request for disqualification of Douglas B. Moylan from Attorney General election. This was received on June 19, 2026. The undersigned complainant, Jordan Lawrence Pauloon, presents this formal complaint to the Guam Election Commission seeking the immediate disqualification of Douglas B. Moylan as a candidate for the office of Attorney General of Guam. This complaint is based on direct violations of Guam law mandating the nonpartisan nature of the office of the Attorney General, specifically 5 GCA subsection 30101B, and the commission of false swearing under penalty of perjury on official GEC candidacy forms. You know what's interesting about this complaint is, of course, if Jordan Pauloon is right, then he gets the Attorney General of Guam disqualified from running in the election. That's significant, right? But there's the reverse side of this, or there's reverse or inverse. There's the other side of this. If Jordan Pauloon is wrong, that means Jordan Pauloon is wrong on the law, and he's running for Attorney General of Guam to enforce the laws of Guam. It's kind of a thing, right? Like, on the one end, if he's right, big deal. On the other end, if he's wrong, big deal. Like, he's risking a lot here. This guy is risking a lot by putting out this complaint. Okay. He says that under this certain statute, quote, a candidate for the position of Attorney General of Guam shall declare no political party affiliation, end quote. The position of Attorney General of Guam is a nonpartisan office. In accordance with Guam election law, Jordan Pauloon wrote, all candidates filing for the office of Attorney General must submit to the GEC a certification of qualification form. This form requires the candidate to swear under oath that they have not declared a political party affiliation, and the form must be subscribed and sworn to before a notary public. Here are the factual allegations, according to Jordan Pauloon. Despite the nonpartisan requirement of the law and his sworn declaration to the GEC, candidate Moylan has expressly and constructively declared a political party affiliation. Specifically, Moylan is officially listed and publicly promoted as a Republican on the website of the Republican Attorneys General Association, a partisan national organization dedicated to electing Republicans to the office of Attorney General. A copy of the listing of Republican Attorneys General on the RAGA website is, I just got the RAGA, that sounds just like MAGA, that's so funny, is attached as Exhibit A. This page can be accessed at blah, 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 blah. Furthermore, Moylan is actively registered with the Guam Election Commission as a Republican voter, contradicting the requirement to maintain a nonpartisan status for the office of the Attorney General. The RAGA website not only lists Mr. Moylan as a Republican Attorney General, but it actively solicits partisan support for him, featuring a prompt that asks visitors to visit the website to share this candidate, thereby directly entangling his candidacy with a partisan political entity and machine. A copy of Mr. Moylan's individual page on the RAGA website is provided. It can be accessed at blah, blah, blah. By completing and signing his GEC candidate certification of qualification form, Mr. Moylan attested under oath that he has not declared a political party affiliation. Given his active Republican voter registration and his prominent promoted status within the Republican Attorneys General Association, this sworn declaration is demonstrably false. The prayer for relief, according to Mr. Pauloon, is that based on the foregoing facts and statutory authority, complainant respectfully requests that the GEC disqualify Douglas B. Moylan from appearing on the ballot and refer this matter to the appropriate prosecutorial authority for investigation of perjury regarding the false statements made on his official GEC candidate declaration form. So we didn't do the story because, well, I took a break this weekend, and you know what, darn it, I deserved to have a darn break, and I'm getting like overwhelmed and tired, and so sue me. Like I needed a break. But we're talking about it today, okay? So the Guam Daily Post and the Pacific Daily News, they both did stories, and there is a Post story about how with the Attorney General responding to this. And let me just read the story. It's by Jojo Santo Tomas. It's titled, Moylan says he remains nonpartisan AG despite complaint alleging false swearing partisan affiliation. Elected Attorney General Douglas B. Moylan says he sits as a nonpartisan AG despite a complaint filed Friday afternoon at the Guam Election Commission. Jordan Lawrence Pauloon, who's blah, 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 blah. Pauloon's complaint asks, okay, blah, 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 blah. The filing site, okay, blah, blah, blah. Pauloon includes screenshots, blah, blah, blah. Moylan, conservative values, nonpartisan office. I skipped all the Pauloon stuff because we just went over what the complaint was, okay? So there's no need to go over that again. In response Friday, Moylan said he has complied with the law and is running as a nonpartisan candidate. He described his own values as conservative, which he stated publicly many times. Moylan said, Doug Moylan he's not kidding about that. He is a conservative through and through. Moylan said Pauloon may be referring to a time before he recently registered at the GEC for the nonpartisan office, noting that anyone may change their affiliation on a whim at the drop of a hat. He said he is registered in accordance with the requirements for the AG race. Moylan said he does not know why RAGA lists him as a Republican Attorney General and suggested the inclusion may stem from miscommunication or the use of outdated information by the site's authors. He said he has not submitted anything to RAGA identifying himself as a partisan candidate. The Guam Daily Post visited the RAGA site, which continued to list Moylan as Republican as of June 20, 2026. Pauloon's complaint argues that Moylan's RAGA listing and prior Republican registration amount to violations of statute and that his sworn declaration on GEC forms affirming he had not declared a party affiliation is therefore false. The complaint asks the commission to remove Moylan from the ballot and refer the matter for investigation of possible perjury. The Guam Election Commission confirmed it received the complaint just after lunchtime Friday and did not comment further. I mean, there's all kinds of ways so that was the story by Jojo Santo Tomas in the Guam Daily Post. There's all kinds of ways to discuss this and to go through the points on this that go back and forth and to prod about it, right? I mean, one of those is like, okay, so if you're going to look at this with Moylan, are you going to look at this same thing with Tom Fisher? Because just, I think last legislative term, Tom Fisher was a Republican lawmaker. And if you look at Tom Fisher's current political affiliation, he's very closely aligned with the Democrat administration and the Democrat candidacy for governor, the Tenorio campaign, right? I don't know what his party affiliation is on the Guam Election Commission. That's all public stuff, by the way. You can go find out like who's registered. Like I'm a registered Democrat, and Moylan's right. Like you can change your party affiliation over at GEC on a whim, because that's what I did. I was registered when I first registered to vote. I registered as a Republican because that's what my family said that we were. And then in 2018, I changed my registration to Democrat because there was no way I was going to belong to the same political party as Ray Tenorio. It was that simple. And so there's all kinds of ways of talking about this issue, but I actually don't want to get into that. And I don't want to get into who's right there. What I want to get into is the math. It's unlike the gubernatorial race, for Attorney General, you do not need to win by 50% +1, and there's no primary election. It's not a partisan race, so there's no primary election. You just go to the general election, and whoever gets the most amount of votes, whether that's a majority or a plurality, becomes the Attorney General. If I'm not mistaken, Doug Moylan won by plurality in the last election. I don't think he won by 50% +1 in the last election. And so I have heard this more and more from people who do not want Doug Moylan to win re-election. And I hear this more and more from them, that there's a concern that because of the number of anti-Doug Moylan candidates running, Doug Moylan is going to win re-election. Because all these people are going to be splitting the vote. And then you add in Phil Tidinko, who is like The last time Phil Tydinko ran for office, he almost won against Doug Moylan. Like, it was a very close race. And so you have to imagine that he's, popularity like that doesn't just fade on a whim, right? And so you have to imagine that Phil Tydinko is going to pull some votes either from the anti-Doug Moylan crowd or from people who would have voted for Doug Moylan, but for whatever reason don't want to vote for him anymore, or maybe a combination of both. But I will bet you, just my elementary understanding of the electorate, and this is my simple opinion, okay? I will bet you that whoever Phil Tydinko pulls from the electorate, it will be more from the anti-Doug Moylan side than it would be from people who like Doug Moylan. And this is why. People who like Doug Moylan don't just like Doug Moylan, they love Doug Moylan. Doug Moylan supporters like what he does, like what he says, love Doug Moylan. It's not going to be easy to pull votes away from them, from that group. It's not going to be easy for Phil Tydinko or Peter Santis, Jordan Pauloon, or Tom Fisher to pull votes away from Doug Moylan, who has a significant base. And it's highly possible, based on the math, that significant base is enough to give him the plurality when the election comes around. I think that's the concern that Jordan Pauloon, and I don't know whether the other 2 or 3 or challengers to Doug Moylan are in on this together. But at the very least, I think it's, if it's not his main motivating factor, sure as heck is in the back of his mind and something that he's thought about. Jordan Pauloon and maybe the others are equally concerned about how they're going to split this vote, and that they will not be able, none of them will be able to overcome Doug Moylan's plurality because of how split their vote is. The math is just very simple here. And so, they need this to happen. And you have to consider, too, Jordan Pauloon is taking a very big risk here. If he's right, then his risk pays off, right? Then his investment into this pays off. And then there's going to be an election among 4 people, and there's going to be no Doug Moylan factor, right? Okay, it resets the race. So if he's right, it's a full payoff. Except that all the Doug Moylan people are going to hate Jordan Pauloon, and they're absolutely not going to vote for Jordan Pauloon. They're going to choose anyone else but Jordan Pauloon. And I have to imagine they don't like, Doug Moylan people don't like Peter Santis either, because Peter Santis has been Doug Moylan's number 1 critic. And he's been consistent this entire time. And anything else that Tom Fisher or Jordan Pauloon or even Phil Tydinko would say about Doug Moylan, they would have borrowed from Peter Santis, because Peter Santis has been the one this entire time saying it all, right? So, the Doug Moylan vote, if Doug Moylan was disqualified from the election because if the GEC ruled that Jordan Pauloon was right, those votes, I'll bet you, are going to go to Phil Tydinko. I don't think they're going to go to Tom Fisher, who's been a big critic of Doug Moylan. They certainly are not going to go to Peter Santis, and they sure as heck aren't going to go to Jordan Pauloon, who was the source of this thing, right? And the other big risk that Jordan Pauloon makes, and it's how the math doesn't work for Jordan Pauloon at all, is if he's wrong, everybody can be like, hey, I thought you know the law. You're running for attorney general. If you don't know the law, why are we going to vote for you? So these are just big risks that Jordan Pauloon is taking, right? Maybe he's taking one for the team. I don't know. I don't know. But this is going to be an interesting one to watch because of the consequences on everyone in this race. I'll tell you this. If Jordan Pauloon, if GEC rules that Jordan Pauloon is wrong, you know what that's going to do. It's probably going to cement Doug Moylan's victory in the election. He would have to do something incredibly stupid in order to lose lots of votes between that time and the election. And the election, well, the election's far away. You never know, right? But anyway, this is my take on the math in the Attorney General's race based on this latest development. And I'm curious, maybe we should talk to Jordan Pauloon and Doug Moylan Of course, I'm curious what Doug Moylan has to say about this, but I'm more curious on the thought process that Jordan Pauloon had with this. I'm not talking about what's right or wrong. I'm talking about the political math, the political thought process that went into this because of how big of a risk that this guy has taken, how big of a political risk that this guy has taken. Anyway, I'm done. You all have a wonderful day. God bless you all. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you tonight for the Troy Torres Show at 7:30 p.m. Until then, have a great day. Be safe. Access to medical care is becoming more and more of an issue here in Guam, and it doesn't even matter if you have the ability to pay. It's getting harder to see a doctor, to get an appointment, or to get the specialty care that you need. So I want to show you a growing solution to a growing problem. They're going to go out of their way to help find you a solution. And they've been growing their clinical services. Aside from this place looking and feeling homely, like this is their waiting area. Like, I don't think that people really understand that they do full clinical services here. Like, this is one of their clinical rooms. Look how nice it is. You get your vision exam here. So do you need to see an OBGYN, get family medicine done, internal medicine done? This is all stuff that's done here at the Total Guam Foundation. And just to tell you again, this place is not for profit. This is the psychologist's office. Yes, they have a psychology department. They also do psychiatry. It's an entire mental health department that they have here on top of all the other clinical services that they provide. If you need medical care, if you're having problems getting a doctor, getting an appointment, call the Total Guam Foundation at 649-TODU or 649-8638. You can visit them on the first floor of the Sunny Plaza building that's next to Sunny Outlet and behind the old Bank of Hawaii building in Tamuning.